Hey, what's going on, guys? Here with Amber, our family readiness, self-reliance, everything cool, best brand ambassador. What are we calling you?
The Queen.
The Queen. The Queen. She's called the Queen. So me and Amber have been talking about self-defense and pistols, and we've been going back and forth about some content that would benefit you guys and gals, and what are the best considerations for choosing your first firearm for concealed carry. So what we decided to do is talk through some of those processes via some of the questioning that Amber got and see if we can navigate that together. So let's talk about some of the questions that you get asked, and we'll address some of that now.
So most of the time it's women just wanting to know what initial questions to ask when they go in, because they feel like the considerations for a woman are so different from a man because of the size of their hand and just what that grip might look like. And I think because a lot of things they're seeing are very tactical when it comes to men and guns. So the other side of that is moms wanting to know what to carry when they're around their children. A lot of moms have the belief that an external safety is going to be something that's almost necessary on a gun if they're around their children. So it's just walking through those just basic gun considerations and reassuring them.
Yeah, because if you think about a woman's carry versus a men's carry, we recommend appendix carry. And appendix carry is running center line of your belt buckle. It's different depending on the anatomy of the person. So Amber obviously is a petite, small-framed woman. So if she is considering a concealed carry firearm, I'm asking her first, how often do you anticipate carrying that pistol? And if it's during her everyday routine versus it's the nightstand gun or the gun that's locked in a box, that makes a difference. Because in the selection of pistols that we have, there's a whole bunch of variants for pistols that, like compact is one thing, very, very small. But what people have failed to realize in compact pistols, even for men, if your hand's overbearing the gun, that is certainly going to affect your ability to handle safely and utilize that firearm in stress and try to use it in self-defense. When I look at the hand size, I want to understand what is the available hand purchase they have on the real estate of the gun. Because if we choose a gun that's too big for their hand, they're not going to be able to maintain a solid grip. And even in the acquisition of the draw, it's going to be difficult. I want to make sure that it's comfortable in their hand, and that's the first thing I'll do. Like, let's not talk about anything else. Let's not talk about where they carry. Let's talk about the actual gun in their hands. I have a better idea for this. Let's do the content like I'm the gun salesman. Does that make sense? The best way to actually do this is demonstrate through the conversation of some things that people would generally ask. Okay. And then I'll walk you through it together, me and you. All right, here we go. What are your questions?
Okay, so I'm here to buy a gun. I've never held a gun before. I've never been around guns. I'm kind of nervous.
Interesting.
I don't know what to ask you. I just know that I'm a mom and I want to carry a gun, and these are what my hands look like.
Yes. I like your leading with your hands. So one, what specific reason are you going to use a firearm for?
Self-defense.
Self-defense, okay. So in self-defense, there's a lot of different models that we could use. Technically speaking, you could use any kind of firearm for self-defense. But there are optimal models built for self-defense and concealed carry specifically. Because if you're going to carry a pistol on your nightstand or in a box because you have kids, then that to me is a different consideration than if you're going to carry it every single day. Do you intend to carry it every single day?
Yes.
Okay, let me see the size of your hands. So what I like to do is in gauging the size of their hands is determining whether or not their hands are teeny tiny or they're adequate enough to carry like a Glock 19. I like the Glock 19 as the number one recommended concealed carry pistol, but for her carry, for her frame, for her build, if she had a Glock 19 in her waistband, it would be a burden. It'd be heavy. It would not be slim enough. So there are options here. Let me show you a couple options. So already looking, there are similar action type pistols. These are single action only, which means when you put a round in the chamber and it's loaded, you pull the trigger and it goes boom. The only exception to that is this Ruger that has a thumb safety that allows it to be in a safe position until you drop it with your thumb And then when you pull the trigger, it goes boom.
Do you think it's necessary for a mother to have this extra safety?
Based on my experiences, I'm under the opinion that you should have a round in the chamber and have a single action only pistol only that's safely retained with retention into a holster wherever that position might be, in your waistband, in your bag.
So the holster is going to keep it from accidentally firing?
Absolutely. So, there's a misnomer about pistols that somehow pistols magically go off by themselves. Most of these triggers, including this Ruger, have very long trigger pulls. That means nothing in reference to how you would actually use it. It's more a safety consideration. So
by trigger pull, you mean the distance from where it sits to where it would fire?
Absolutely. And you see how this one has a little latch on the front of the trigger, just like the Glock 43X, just like this Springfield Armory. That is a trigger safety that if this got caught up on material without a full finger pushing that latch down, it wouldn't fire. So if this is retained in a holster just like this would be covering or shrouding the trigger guard, which is the trigger. This is the shroud, right? This is called the trigger guard, which would allow it to be in a safe position, but allow you to quickly access the pistol to be able to pull it out during concealed carry or defense of your life.
So even if I were to carry this gun in my purse, I would keep it in a holster and then it would be safe in my purse?
Yes, one of the considerations for carry it outside of the waistband, inside of a bag, a purse, European man satchel, is that you have to have the ability to retain that holster. So when you grab that pistol, you're not pulling the holster with you. The idea is if you go and you pull the pistol, you want to minimize the amount of actions or movements, because that means more time that you have to get to the pistol to get alignment. So if I pull the pistol out, it has a holster, I remove it, that's just an extra step that's going to burden my time, and I don't have a lot of time in self-defense.
Okay, so how do I know which gun is going to be best for me?
Now what we're going to look at is size relative to your hand, and then what feels good to you. A lot of people neglect this, but if it feels good and you have confidence, you're going to be able to utilize that pistol moving forward in training and carry, and you'll build on that confidence.
Okay, so what would feel good? What am I looking for?
So my opinion is these are subcompacts. When you take this Sig Sauer P365, this is a very small subcompact pistol, smaller than compact. For you, I would look at something like this. This is a Glock 43X carry, and this has a narrow width, which means it will fit neat against your body and waistline. I like that word, neat. And it will also allow you to acquire a larger grip. So let's do this. Let's put the P365 in your hand. Your right hand dominant?
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to butt up the V-notch in your hand with the V-notch in here so you can acquire a full grip. And that's good to stage your trigger finger along the bottom of the frame. How does that feel in your hand? Just with one hand, how does that feel?
It feels really small.
Okay, that's what she said. All right, so let's move on to this one. And now we're going to go with the Glock 43X carry. How does that feel?
This feels good.
Yeah, so I like to equate this to like a hammer. So this is a hammer grip. If you have the perfect balance, meaning you're not overcompensating on the grip, or you're not undercompensating on the grip because it's too small, it allows the position of your hand to be confident on the gun to manage two processes, muzzle flip and recoil or rearward movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your right hand, V-notch here, and then I'm going to take your support hand and push it up in that real estate. How does that feel in your hand?
Good.
Okay, I'm going to rack the slide forward. I'm just going to ride it forward, which is hitting the slide catch or release, and that's going to allow you to be right here. How does that feel? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we say good, for anybody wondering, because that's subjective, it means it feels like we can manipulate it with control.
Absolutely. It has to do with ergonomics. It has to do with the balance of things as it's in your hand. Like if you picked up a baseball bat and it had a real thin, whittled down handle or grip, it would feel weird. But if you had the perfect balance in that, it would feel right. It would feel proper. Now, what I'm articulating is obviously something that is a little vague. Remember, when you're going to purchase a firearm, a lot of the people in there want to give you advice. But if you feel overwhelmed already, The idea on this side of the aisle is I don't want to overwhelm you. I don't want to turn this into a marksmanship class. What I want to do is build your confidence in the product and the firearm that you're going to purchase is reliable, it's durable, it's proven, and it's something that you could take beyond this store and be confident that you could seek training, the right amount of training. Again, the variable is hand size for me and even experience. If you're telling me that you want this gun for concealed carry, for example, and your hands are larger than a subcompact hand, then I would point you in the direction of the 43X carry, which I think is the perfect balance for you. Remember, when we're talking about this too, the carry consideration is important. Even the body composition. Nobody wants to talk about body composition, but if a gentleman came in here and he was very overweight, I would not point, and he had large hands, which our big dudes usually have large hands, I would not point him to a subcompact. I've seen students on my range who fit that were overwhelming this gun unsafely because their hands were so massive. I would want to point them at a larger frame pistol. All right, last question. What do you got?
So is there any specific bullets that I need to be careful about ammunition-wise? No?
Good question. Okay, so one thing that's often neglected is a discussion about the best bullets to carry in your firearm. So let me tell you this. There are a legacy bunch of people, including guys who run gun stores, older gentlemen, that will tell you that the 45 ACP is the only pistol you should ever use, a 1911 configuration, whatever that looks like. Look, 45 ACP is big. It's 0.45 inches. It's massive as a round, but it's slow, 900-ish feet per second. The technology in bullets, including synthetic bonding in the material of the round for 9mm, has changed. Meaning the full metal jacket 9mm round is not your only option. You have multiple options. The general rule of thumb is if you're using this for personal self-defense, you have to be thinking about the thought of how this executes in real time in real life, meaning around people and around obstacles. So I recommend a self-defense round in various forms. Like I won't go down the rabbit hole that is ammunition, but a self-defense round is not a full metal jacket projectile. Also remember that if you're in your home and you're thinking about self-defense, there is the consideration of punching through drywall because you're over-penetrating the wall. You don't want to do that, and that change in effect happens with the ammunition. I'm not an ammunition expert. I can give you some general rules that I've, in my experience, have used, but I encourage you guys to seek that information and knowledge.
Okay, and then I think another question that people have a lot is price point.
Yeah, here's how I look at it. You can't pay enough for investing in your self-defense and your family's self-defense. Like when people ask me like, hey man, that's overpriced. Well, what does that mean? Because if you just spent the money buying, your new car, your new whip, on vacation, whatever you spend money on, I would take that money and invest it in self-defense. Generally speaking, you're going to be around $500 per pistol. And they fluctuate. They're all in competition with each other. The caveat is like, this is a $4,000 HK P7. It's mine. It's just, it's a weird thing that I like. But generally, it's $500. If you're looking at investing in these pistols and you take care of them, they will last forever. I have Glocks that I've had since the 90s. I mean, I'm old, and that's old, and they still function very well. I think one thing that we haven't talked about is firearm safety, and I think the next video we're going to talk about is that. I encourage you to subscribe. I also encourage you to give a thumbs up and spread the love. A lot of people who listen to us, who watch us, we want to provide this educational value for free to you. We just ask that you spread the word. And if you have any questions below, there's a whole bunch of links where you can access more content, training, and everything that we're doing at Fieldcraft Survival. Until next time. Later, guys.